we'll take it to our grave with us.
It is being described by many as the worst flooding ever in central Virginia. Greene and Madison counties received up to 12 inches of rain today, and the already saturated area simply could not handle it. The result, bridges like this one on Route 231 in Madison County washed away. Roadways completely covered by rain-swollen rivers. Helicopters called in to help evacuate residents in low-lying areas. Hello, everyone. I'm Mary White. Thanks for joining us tonight. In just a minute, we will take a look at more of the destruction this flooding has caused. We'll talk to some people who have been displaced by it, and we'll have the latest on the road conditions and power outages. But first, let's go to Robert Van Winkle at the weather wall to see when this flooding threat may slack off. Robert.
Mary, this has truly been...
When this flooding threat may slack off. Robert.
Mary, this has truly been an incredible day in the weather office, and here is a rainfall total map for you of the last 36 hours. Doppler radar has put this together and indicated the areas hardest hit from the rain. Obviously, we know the headwaters of the Rapid Dam in Madison and Greene County right in through here. Our weather watchers have reported anywhere from 10 to 13 inches of rain in places like Wolftown, Etlin, and on the border to Greene and Madison right here. You can see this dark coloring extends down to Goochland County, and that was earlier this afternoon where the heaviest rains fell. Our attention now focuses on Nelson and in Nelson County and western Albemarle. A flood warning is posted in Nelson and western Albemarle until midnight tonight. Cole Clark will be along in just a minute with the current radar picture, but you can see that we are definitely looking at not much relief in sight with all this rain. Tomorrow, more showers are forecasted, and we'll tell you about that later on in the news. Mary?
All right, thanks very much, Robert. Now, our Laura Derby and videographer Bill Edwards have been trying to make their way through all this flooding tonight. They have wound up at the Greene County Sheriff's Office, which has also been set up as a temporary shelter. Laura, what's going on there?
Mary, I am here at one of two relief centers. This is the Greene County Rescue Squad, and as you can see behind me, it is empty. There is no one here this evening, and that's the same as up the road at the other relief center in Standardsville. The reason no one's here is because it seems that all the neighbors and relatives of people who have been displaced have taken them in, have taken care of each other. Everyone here has really worked together to help each other out and keep them out of places and keep them from sleeping on the floors and things like that today. We also tried to make our way into Madison County today, but it simply was not possible. We tried every road in. They were either flooded or the bridges were washed out. We just could not get in. We tried for a long time this evening, I have to tell you. Now, we were there earlier this evening, and we did get some video of the shelter that was setting up there. People, as it was setting up, were already coming in. Many of them could not get to their homes. Let's take a look at some of the video. Some of them could not get to their homes. Others were just trying to find a safer place in case they'd find trouble.
This morning, everything was fine. About 2 miles back up the road, we went up on a bridge. One lane was underwater and one was open. We came on down, and the next bridge is either washed out or covered, so we're caught in the middle of two covered bridges right now. We're in Madison County High School. Just going to have to sleep at 8, I guess.
Okay, now that man, of course, he's spending his time in Madison, and we're going to be trying to get more information out of Madison this evening and tomorrow morning. We'll let you know as soon as we do. And also, if anyone needs to come to the Greene County rest areas, that's definitely possible. They'll be here all night if you need them. Mary?
Laura, are the people there giving you any indication as to what they have planned for tomorrow as far as rescue efforts?
In Greene County, they were up in helicopters today, and they saved 15 to 20 people from their homes and from their rooftops. They will go up in the helicopters again tomorrow, and they're going to survey the damage and see if anyone else is in need.
All right, thanks very much, Laura, for that live report. Our reporter Kim Vaughn and videographer Brad Clore spent the day surveying the damage, and they filed this report.
This was the scene Tuesday afternoon in Orange County near the town of Somerset. Route 231 and Route 20 North closed due to high water. These rain-drenched fields were once grazing lands for livestock. In Greene County, torrential rain sent the South River over this bridge, but the most devastating destruction was along Route 29. At around 2:30, the Rivanna River swelled and rushed over this bridge, washing out a portion of the northbound lane of Route 29.
Amazed, very amazed. I've never seen anything like this.
State police closed Route 29 and rerouted traffic. Meanwhile, onlookers were in awe of what's been called the worst flooding ever in Greene County. Now, if you still can't comprehend the impact that this flooding has had on Central Virginia, take a look at Route 29. It's as if a shark took a giant chunk out of the highway. The Virginia Department of Transportation is already assessing the damage.
First thing in the morning, we're preparing right now to bring in the equipment necessary to remove the debris, and as soon as we can remove enough debris and get the water to recede, then we're going to take a good look at the structure, the bridges, the roadway, and then assess what needs to be done to repair it.
No word yet on when Route 29 will reopen. There's the possibility that VDOT will open up the southbound lanes to traffic once debris is cleared and the bridge is deemed safe. Meanwhile, commuters, including vacationers headed out of town for the 4th of July holiday, will have to take an alternative route. In Greene County, Kim Vaughn, Dateline 29 News.
And our Dave Cupp has been keeping track of road closings and other problems throughout the evening. He joins us now from the Dateline 29 newsroom with the latest information. Dave.
Well, Mary, the word from the State Department of Transportation tonight is stay put. Not as a matter of avoiding travel headaches, but as a matter of safety. VDOT says all primary roads between Charlottesville and Culpeper are closed tonight, as are secondary roads too numerous to list. Now, Route 29 you've already seen. Route 15 closed earlier this evening in multiple places. Route 522 is closed in Culpeper and Orange. 230 and 231 are closed in Orange. The one-way open between Charlottesville and Culpeper right now would be to take Route 20 from Charlottesville almost to Fredericksburg, then go to Culpeper on Route 3. But VDOT advises against that. Says travelers tonight should stick to the interstates. Conditions are changing rapidly. Roads are opening and closing on an hour-to-hour basis. And there are other problems as well. Let's look at some more pictures of the floodwaters as I tell you about them. Power failures are causing problems. Rappahannock Electric Cooperative says floodwaters washed away 10 power poles, knocking out power to parts of Greene and Madison counties. The Rapidan Service Authority lost power in its main plant and is urging customers in Greene and Madison to conserve water. Sprint Centel says power is out at some remote telephone switches. They have generators in place in Standardsville, Fork Union, and Arvonia to keep the switches there working. One remote switch in Crozet is running on battery power, but that battery will run out of juice around midnight, and due to flooded roads, they can't bring a generator in. So Crozet should see some phone outages later tonight. Now, again, we have little specific information coming out of Madison tonight. Phone communications have been sketchy. The county is simply inaccessible from the south. There have been helicopter rescues, of course, in Madison and Greene. There will be more tomorrow, and helicopters are also going to be taking food to people in high-lying places. But the advice tonight, stay where you are, and we'll have the latest road conditions starting very early tomorrow morning. Mary.
All right, thank you, Dave. Now, the flooding has proven fatal a little further north of Madison in Rappahannock County. 43-year-old Kirk Davis was swept to his death in that county. Also, a 3-year-old girl was carried away today. A Coast Guard helicopter hoisted 10 families to safety along the Robinson River, and a couple of 11-year-old boys were plucked from a tree. Now, Governor Allen has declared a state of emergency for most of the state, so the National Guard can be used in rescue efforts. And, of course, as Dave mentioned, stay tuned to Channel 29 for the latest on the flooding beginning at 5:55 tomorrow morning. Our news team will provide live reports each half hour on the current situation and road conditions. We are coming back with the rest of the day's news after this look at tonight's winning Virginia lottery numbers. Out.
Our immediate attention tonight, however, is focused on western Albemarle and Nelson counties, where a flash flood warning remains in effect through midnight. Virtually stationary thunderstorms in these areas continue to dump rain on already saturated ground. Let's take a quick look at our local conditions. 72 degrees in Charlottesville with clouds and fog. Winds are out of the northeast at 9. We've got humidity up there at 90%. Only 0.6 of an inch of rain today in Charlottesville. High of 77 and a low overnight of 70 degrees. In the valley, we've got similar conditions, 72 and cloudy, calm winds, 91% relative humidity, and only 0.2 of an inch of rain in the valley. Let's take a look again. If you were with us at the top of the hour, you saw this same map. Robert Van Winkle was describing it. It's basically an overview of the rain that we've had for the last 36 hours. And where you see the darker shades of red, this corridor received the most rain. Don't be fooled by the 6-inch figure here on your screen, because these areas actually received significantly greater amounts than 6 inches, in some cases as much as 12 to 13 inches of rain. Current weather radar shows, as I said earlier, the area of attention now is western Albemarle and Nelson counties as thunderstorms continue to develop over these areas, and we will continue to see rain along the line of, again, western Nelson, western Albemarle County for the next several hours and probably on into the early morning hours tomorrow. And if I can get my maps to change, we'll hopefully take a look at some weather watcher totals. These are the rainfall totals for our viewing area. Interesting contrast, rainfall totals in the valley were very, very slight. 14/100ths of an inch at Harrisonburg, only a fraction of an inch reported in Churchville. But look at that same corridor from the map that I showed you at the beginning of the show. 12 inches at Madison, 10 inches reported in Standardsville, Gordonsville coming in at 10 inches, Troy reporting almost 5 inches of rain, all along that same band that received the heavy rain and showers during the day today. Let's take a look at what's causing all that. High pressure in the northeast is forcing a cold front south, and there's copious amounts of moisture coming up from the Gulf overrunning this front. This convergence, along with the flow off the Atlantic and causing the air to rise up over the Appalachian Mountains, is continuing to dump a tremendous amount of rain over this area. The unfortunate news is that this front really isn't going to move that much over the next several days. We've also got vigorous low pressure over the upper Mississippi that's going to be sliding east. And basically the forecast for the next 3 to 4 days is for rain and thunderstorms. Let's take a look at the forecast for the remainder of the evening. We do have a flood watch in effect until 4 a.m. for the most of the western portion of the viewing area. Lows tonight will be in the middle 60s. For tomorrow, again, look for rain and thunderstorms. Highs in the upper 70s to low 80s. And the forecast for the valley is pretty much the same. Rain and thunderstorms with highs in the upper 70s. The 3-day outlook now for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday really doesn't look much better. We've got a chance of rain now, Mary, as far as the weather eye can see. In fact, even into Sunday, we expect a chance for some rain.
So it looks like it might get worse before it gets better.
Probably.
All right, we'll be keeping our eye on it. Thanks, Cole. When Dateline 29 News continues.
WVIR-TV, Channel 29.
From Channel 29, Virginia's most powerful television station, this is Dateline 29 News at noon.
Some of the worst flooding in central Virginia since the 1940s. This is the scene at the Greene County-Madison County line at this hour. The Rappahannock River overflowed, taking the bridge on Route 29 with it. Both the northbound lanes and the southbound lanes are closed, leaving motorists scrambling for alternate routes. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Beth Pugh. Mary Spencer is off today. We'll have live reports from that area of Route 29 and from the Shenandoah Valley. But first, let's go to Norm Sprouse. He's at the Weather Center with more. Norm.
Well, Beth, rain seems to have lightened up quite a bit since it was, say, 5 or 6 hours ago when there were heavy showers and thunderstorms in Rockbridge County, working their way up right on through Augusta and parts of Rockingham County. Just light showers out there right now, but there's still a very juicy atmosphere in place over top Virginia. And there's a real good possibility, about a 70% chance we'll see more shower and thunderstorm activity, not only this afternoon, but into the nighttime hours and into tomorrow. I'll be back with more in a few moments. Beth?
There are many roads underwater in the Shenandoah Valley as well, where up to 4 inches of rain has fallen since last night. And also, we're going to take you back to the flood-ravaged Route 29 at the Greene-Madison County line. Dave Cupp is there now, where Virginia Department of Transportation officials are beginning to clear out the debris to get the road open. Dave.
Beth, we're standing on the Greene County side of what used to be the Rapidan River Bridge. That's Madison County over there. Bridge, of course, as you have said, was heavily damaged by the floodwaters yesterday, and they're starting to assess the damage right now. I believe we have some pictures sent back earlier of some of the damage that was suffered here. There you see some of the high water with a police car going through. There, more high water in the Rapidan River. And there you see some of the pavement that was gouged away by the floodwaters that came roaring through here. The estimates are that there must have been a wall of water some 20, 30 feet high. There you see part of the road surface that was gouged away, some of the trees that are scattered around on the bridge, the guardrails that were ripped off and twisted like pretzels. The scene here is just absolutely breathtaking. And if you can come back to us live now, we'll walk you around and show you a little bit about what's happening. we're in the southbound lanes. The northbound lane is what they're trying to reopen for traffic. You can see the first of the heavy equipment has moved in. The bulldozer over there is shoving dirt down into a huge hole. A bite was taken out that eliminated the entire right-hand lane of travel in the northbound lane of the highway over there. And as we move around this way, you see the bridge behind, all the guardrails twisted away. On the bridge, you see workmen who are pitching the trees over the side now so they can run on down the river. On the far side, you see a utility crew up on the lines trying to restore phone lines or electricity. And then as we walk backwards and turn this way, you will see the Rapidan River. The river took a bend here just before it came under the bridge, or at least that's what it should have done. Yesterday, the river came roaring across, cutting through on that bend. You see all the debris here on the guardrail, which is some 30 feet maybe above the fields below. You can see that's a farmer's field right over there that's been planted. And back here, you see the live truck, which would have been underwater yesterday as the floodwaters came roaring through. So an amazing sight here, but they are trying to restore things as well as they can. Back to you.
Okay, Dave, thank you for that live report. Now, there are many roads underwater in the Shenandoah Valley where up to 4 inches of rain has fallen since last night. You are looking at scenes from Stanton and the Stewart's Draft area along Route 603 and 608. The Virginia Department of Transportation says there are 20 roads blocked and 1 bridge washed out on Route 600. Most of the problems are in the Craigsville area. Many roads remain closed due to high water and washed out bridges. Mary Moore is standing by live in the newsroom with the latest. Mary.
Beth, of course, the road everyone knows about is Route 29 at the Greene-Madison line, but there are many more that are closed, and they are keeping people from getting where they want to go today. We'll start in Albemarle County, where parts of 16 roads are closed, primarily in the western part of the county near Whitehall. In Greene County, there are people stranded by high water and washed out bridges in the Middle River area. VDOT tells us a total of 16 roads are closed in Greene. In Madison County, the situation is worse, with travel west of Route 29 just about impossible. Of course, some of the water has begun to go down, and some roads that are blocked now may be passable later today. However, you want to be very careful because in many places, parts of roads and bridges no longer exist, and that might be tough to see. And we just got a fax from Governor George Allen's office. He has declared a state of emergency in the Central Virginia area. He is closely monitoring the state's response. The governor would like to get up and take in a helicopter or a plane and take a look at all of the flooding, but weather has not permitted that. We'll keep you up to date on what the governor has to say when he visits our area. Beth.
Okay, Mary, thank you. The floodwaters proved fatal for 43-year-old Kirk Davis. He was swept to his death in Rappahannock County yesterday afternoon. A 3-year-old girl was also carried away. A Coast Guard helicopter hoisted 10 families to safety along the Robinson River, and a couple of 11-year-old boys were plucked from a tree. Since Governor Allen declared a state of emergency for most of the state, the National Guard can be used in rescue efforts. As Virginia authorities struggle with the floodwaters in the western and northern parts of the state, officials have issued a list of safety reminders. Among them, if you come to a road blocked by a barricade or covered with water, go another way. Moving water only 6 inches deep can sweep pedestrians off their feet. Water may hide down or underground electric wires. Stay out of the floodwaters for that reason. Roads covered by water may have eroded below the surface. If a road is covered with water, don't drive across it. If your car stalls in rapidly rising water, get out and climb to a higher ground. Stay informed by listening to the radio or watching television. Emergency workers will be assisting people in the flooded areas. Help them by leaving the roads clear and play it safe. More flooding can happen. And, you know, Norm, it does look like we're going to get more rain.
Well, right now it seems to be light rain, but you were talking about those safety precautions. I've seen some tapes earlier this morning of somebody in a sport utility vehicle trying to drive through like 2 feet of water. That can float a 2-ton vehicle like that. Anyway, we'll be back with the complete weather story.
You're taking out roadways and damaging homes.
And another scare from the so-called Unabomber. This time he's targeting a California airport.
And a major trade war is narrowly diverted as a last-minute deal is made between the U.S. and Japan.
Good evening. Welcome to the news at 5:30. I'm Gene Cox.
And I'm Diane Walker. Our top story tonight, parts of north central Virginia remain underwater, while others are quickly becoming inundated. Days of heavy rain have caused heavy flooding in several counties, including Madison, Warren, and Louisa. Also facing high water, Rockbridge County. Buena Vista and the small nearby town of Glasgow in the county's eastern end have water standing in the streets, and homes and businesses are being evacuated.
Meanwhile, residents in Fredericksburg are keeping a nervous eye on the Rappahannock River this evening. That river is expected to crest at 9 feet above flood stage. Kathy Hobbs has the latest.
Upon entering the small farm community of Criglersville, the rushing Robinson River greets you at the town line. In a place where the people are used to things moving slow, the folks here seem to be in a hurry all of a sudden. Hey, sail this way! Criglersville is virtually shut down. There's no electricity or phone service, and workers are trying to shore up holes in the main road into town so the repair crews can come in.
Get Quaker Run set up so we can, why I need to get up. We got to get power to the lodge.
The swollen Robinson River left its mark on this town. It flooded fields and uprooted trees. Most of all, it's uprooted families. Jason Seal's house was damaged. Here's what it looks like now. His family was able to save almost everything except an old family friend.
We're more concerned more or less about our dog. He has disappeared. As you can see, our house it's not that bad. My mother's car was a little bit of a loss. We're just happy to all be safe, really.
To many people here, this is a sight to see. Their homes and earthly belongings swept away by Mother Nature. Cleveland Jones brought his video camera and wanted his children to see this.
I grew up at Virginia Beach. I've seen hurricanes and stuff, so it's kind of neat for the kids to get out and see what Mother Nature can do. You know, they're fascinated just by the force of the water that can do this kind of damage. And
the Virginia Department of Transportation already has begun damage assessments in northern and central Virginia. Frank Eden of the department's Culpeper District says routes 29, 15, and 522 are the major highways that remain closed because of bridge and roadway washouts. More than 150 secondary roads remain closed.
Airports across California are...
There's still a flash flood watch in effect for pretty much the entire area until 11 o'clock tonight. Now, currently, just light showers are scattering all across the region. But the water, well, the ground was already saturated with plenty of water from rains over the last several days. We don't need any more rain. And by golly, it looks like some more will be falling. Now, flooding will be a problem. We're expecting the Rapidan to crest right around 30 feet right about now. The James River, though, because, see, up around Rockbridge, that's where the headwaters of the James are. With all the rain they got there, it's going to slowly work its way right on down the James River. Expecting a crest in Scottsville about 3 feet above flood stage. In Bremo, though, expecting a crest at about 10 feet above flood stage. And that water is going to keep on going right on down the James River as well. The current satellite map with the radar overlay just showing some light showers, the heaviest stuff up towards Winchester, lighter amounts across central Virginia. This map doesn't pick up all that well. But here's the problem. You can blame the big red L and the big blue H for all our problems. This red L, the low pressure area, has been working with the high pressure area to the south to pump in just tons and tons and tons of Gulf moisture. We were telling you Monday that the atmosphere over Virginia was holding about twice the normal amount of moisture for this time of year. Then that backdoor cold front slammed into it and just knocked pretty much all the rain out of it, it would seem. Now, this low pressure area will continue to siphon in some Gulf moisture as we head into tomorrow and even on into Friday. So we expect some light showers and thunderstorms to continue on through the rest of the week. For this afternoon, flash flood watch until 11 o'clock tonight. Showers and thunderstorms are possible with the afternoon highs only in the lower half of 70s in both central Virginia and the valley. Then for tonight, you guessed it, a flash flood watch until 11 p.m. with the overnight lows mid-60s central Virginia and the lower 60s in the valley, with that chance of rain continuing to be at about 60% on into tomorrow. Highs tomorrow only in the mid-70s with a lot of cloud cover around, scattered showers and thunderstorms. Same story in the Shenandoah Valley as well, just a few degrees cooler, but still generally in the mid-70s. If you're making any plans for the next 3 days after that, you may not like what I have to tell you. Chance of more scattered showers and thunderstorms. The highs will slowly be working their way up into the 80s, and it'll get quite a bit muggier, too.
Wow.
Wow is an understatement.
Yes. Thank you very much, Norm. The infamous Unabomber planned
From Channel 29, Virginia's most powerful television station, this is Dateline 29 News at 11.
Tonight, hundreds of Albemarle County residents are being advised to evacuate their homes as the Sugar Hollow Dam near Whitehall threatens to break. Hello, everyone. I'm Mary White. Thanks for joining us this evening. Our reporter Kim Vaughn and videographer Scott Gibson and Bill Edwards have been in the Whitehall area tonight. Right now, they are at Western Albemarle High School, which has been set up as a temporary shelter for the displaced residents. Kim, what's the latest there?
Well, Mary, as you said, I am at Western Albemarle High School. This is where people who live in the Whitehall district are advised to come if they are evacuated from their homes near the Sugar Hollow area past the Whitehall district. Now, so far, about 25 people have been evacuated from the area. Let's go ahead and look at some videotape we shot earlier this evening from that Sugar Hollow area. What you're looking at right now is the county police. They have a command post set up here in the Whitehall area, and the Red Cross is also there. And what you're looking at right now is the Mormon River, and this is Route 614 in Sugar Hollow. You can see that river has overflowed its banks. It's damaged the major roadways where these people have been evacuated. You can see pavement in the streams and everything. Now, joining me right now is Carolyn Enos with the local chapter of the American Red Cross. And we don't have any people here with us right now, but go ahead and tell me what the situation is going to be later tonight as we monitor the situation with the Sugar Hollow area and, of course, the Sugar Hollow Dam.
At midnight, we're expecting to make a decision as to whether we're anticipating anybody to arrive for sheltering. At that point, if we decide that we're not going to have any victims arriving this evening, the shelter will close. But if there is a need for assistance, Red Cross will still be available for assistance, and they can call us at the chapter requesting that.
Okay, so far, no one has showed up so far. What kind of assistance would you offer people who haven't even left their homes yet?
If there was a need for people to have shelter, obviously we'd provide that, whether in a shelter or there are other options besides in an open shelter if there were less than 20 families impacted. But if they were unable to remain at their homes and they needed clothing or food, those are things that we work on.
Now, I've heard that the National Red Cross is coming to the Charlottesville area tomorrow. Tell me what they're going to be doing. What capacity will they play?
National headquarters is coming because the disaster is a level 3 national disaster. They're coming to assist us in providing the best services possible.
Okay, Carolyn Ennis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, we've heard that the Sugar Hollow Dam, we don't know if this dam is overflowing or what so far, but if it does, it could have some major impact for the areas of Whitehall and Free Union. One police officer told me that the entire area could be washed out. That's very preliminary, but we'll be in touch with that situation. Mary, back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Kim, for that live report. I just heard from Albemarle Police that the Sugar Hollow Dam is 8 feet below breach level. And so, of course, the question now becomes whether or not we will get more rain tonight. Police seem to think that if we don't get any more rain, then the dam will hold. And for an answer to that question, let's turn to Cole Clark at the Weather Center with more. Cole.
Thank you, Mary. The potential for more rain, unfortunately, does exist for tonight, in fact, into the next several days. There is a flood watch in effect until 4 a.m. tomorrow morning for the counties that you see on your screen, Rockingham, south to Buckingham County, including Albemarle, Augusta, Nelson, and Greene. Unfortunately, our link to our radar site has been down for the last several hours, ostensibly due to the bad weather. But as you can see from this radar shot from about an hour and a half ago, there is an area of thunderstorms, very heavy thunderstorms, down around the Roanoke, Bedford, Franklin, and Roanoke County areas. All this precipitation is moving to the northeast at about 20 miles an hour, giving us a possibility for some more rain and showers this evening. We'll have details on that and take a look at the prospects for rain throughout the rest of the week a little later in the news. Mary?
All right, thank you very much, Cole. Now, in Madison County tonight, the situation is less urgent. Emergency crews believe they have reached everyone who had been in life-threatening danger. Crews spent today conducting rescue searches, and they say they will resume their searches tomorrow for people who are still stranded in treetops. Now, what you're looking at here is aerial footage that was shot earlier today. There's the aerial footage of a bridge in Madison County. Governor Allen, meanwhile, took a helicopter tour of the area and viewed the damage from the ground as well, and there was a lot to look at. Our Tim Murtaugh visited one of the hardest hit areas in Madison County today, the community of Ruth.
What used to be a fourth-generation homestead has been in Jim Shotwell's family since the late 1800s. He says he just put $50,000 into the farmhouse, used as a rental property now, and he has no flood insurance. This is about as bad as the damage gets.
Well, it was just a standard iron and wood frame bridge across there that led from the house over to the barn that used to be highway maintained road. Behind it, there was a garage off to the right. There was a huge walnut tree, which is probably one of those over there now.
Where we're standing now used to be a horse paddock.
This was a horse paddock, fully fenced and grazed in green grass and about 2 feet shallower than it is now.
Cars were moved by torrents of water down the mountain, through a culvert, coming to rest miles away. What used to be an Isuzu Trooper stopped. Its headlights burned all night long. Along Route 657, the White Oak Run River has swollen, hitting the Newton Laurel farm hard, sweeping 1,500-pound hay bales up to a quarter of a mile away, among other problems.
A whole lot of fencing's gone, corn crops, hay ground, right much.
At Madison County High School, a relief shelter, looking very much like a war zone when Governor Allen arrived to meet with the displaced people after a statewide helicopter tour.
Rivers such as the Robinson and the Rapidan rivers are all right now raging, but you can see how the river was even further up. You see hundreds of yards outside of the banks of corn just flattened, and big trees, you know, the 80, 100-year-old trees, big trees just out in the middle of a field that you can tell that, gosh, the river must have been 10, 20 feet up.
In Madison County, Tim Murtaugh, Dateline 29 News.
Now, even as dozens of roads and bridges remain washed out in Madison County tonight, residents there have started down the road to recovery. A number of families have been stranded in the county or had to be evacuated from their homes. The Red Cross hosted about 35 people in an emergency shelter at Madison County High School. There, the flood victims wait, hope, and pray.
Well, I live in Leon, but my daughter's trapped up on Laurel Mountain up near Wolftown. The bridges are out, and they say that the mountain's starting to slide. I've talked to her a couple of times. They have a cellular phone, and they've called a couple of times to say they were okay, but they were scared.
People are concerned. They want to make sure that their family knows where they are. The telephone lines have been down. You can't call out in lots of parts of the county, so they can't get messages. They don't know where they are. But everybody is handling it really well.
As residents wait for the waters to recede, the Red Cross is providing them food, beds, activities, even hot showers, courtesy of the Culpeper Holiday Inn. Well, 3 young brothers are lucky to be alive tonight after their canoe capsized in the Rivanna River near Free Bridge in Charlottesville. One of the boys was able to get out of the turning water immediately. The other 2, as you can see here, were swept downstream. Rescue crews could not reach the boys with ropes, but the youngsters were able to grab onto branches near shore and be pulled to safety. They were unharmed. Albemarle police say any canoeing or kayaking is prohibited until further notice. Anyone caught on a river will be charged. Tonight, many secondary and primary roads in Madison remain impassable in places. The same for roads in the Whitehall area of Albemarle County, as you saw earlier. If you're wondering about the condition of the Route 29 bridge over the Rapidan River at the Greene-Madison County line, this is what it looked like today. Now, the State Transportation Department hopes to reopen one of the lanes by this weekend to reopen the route between Madison and Charlottesville. Here's a look at tonight's winning Virginia lottery picks, and we're coming back with more news right after this. At Stuart Draft High School or some other shelters, we'll give those in a minute, but the areas of immediate concern are Robinson Hollow, Inch Branch, and Tom's Branch. The National Weather Service says we could get up to 3 inches of rain throughout the night, and residents in low-lying areas are being urged to consider the possibility of evacuating to higher ground immediately. Again, the shelters are Stuart Draft High School, Buffalo Gap High School, Craigsville Elementary School, or Riverheads High School. That threat combined with the threat in Albemarle County at Sugar Hollow Dam, this is a very dangerous night.
It is, and the problem is really being caused by the fact that the thunderstorms that are being generated almost don't move. They are generated, drop a lot of rain, and are almost stationary. So typically where they do form, they can drop 2 to 4 inches of rain in a period of an hour or so.
Wow.
And we're looking at that kind of pattern tonight, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
A stationary front draped across the middle Atlantic and a strong onshore flow continue to generate rain and thunderstorms in flood-prone central Virginia. Today's focal point for flooding was in southwestern Virginia, with flood watches and warnings posted for Roanoke, Bedford, and Franklin counties this evening. Most of the central and western portions of the Channel 29 viewing area remain under a flood watch until 4 a.m. Thursday morning, and the potential for more precipitation exists through the weekend. Let's begin with a check of our local conditions. 68 degrees is our current temperature in Charlottesville with cloudy skies, overcast skies, and fog. Winds out of the northeast at 9. Humidity stands at 94%. We've had 0.4 of an inch of rain today in Charlottesville with a high of 71 degrees. Valley conditions, 70 degrees and overcast skies. Northeast winds at 3. Humidity stands at 90% and over 2 inches of rain in the valley today. Radar information, and finally we do have our link back with our radar site, so this is current information now. You can see again to the south of us heavy showers and thunderstorms down around Roanoke and in the counties to the south. As we put the maps into motion, you can see how that storminess, the showers, heavy rain showers and thunderstorms really don't move that much. They remain virtually stationary, but the movement is ever so slowly to the north and east. And eventually, if this stuff holds together, it will make its way into Nelson and Augusta and western Albemarle counties overnight. As we said at the top of the hour, we do have a flood watch in effect for the counties that you see on your screen. Here are the rainfall totals for today. It's kind of a flip-flop of what we had yesterday. Rain heaviest in the valley today with 1.6 inches in Harrisonburg, 2.7 in Churchville, and 3.8 reported in Stanton. And then over in the eastern part of the viewing area, very scant amounts. Standardsville, 1/10 of an inch at Gordonsville, less than 1/10 of an inch reported in Louisa. What's causing all this? Well, as we take a look, first of all, in the Midwest, you can see an area of vigorous upper-level low pressure over the upper Mississippi, and it's dragging a cold front behind it. It's bumping into this high-pressure area over the northeast, however. The strong onshore flow from this high, along with this stationary front, continue to focus all of the energy and all of the rain along the stationary front. Of course, the uplift effect that you get when the onshore flow brings the air up into the atmosphere as it hits the Appalachian Mountains, wrings all the moisture out of the air, and continues to bring us this rain. And unfortunately, the pattern looks like it's going to be with us at least for the next couple of days. Forecast map for tomorrow shows this front with virtually no movement. As we get on into Friday, the cold front begins to make its way towards us, and the stationary front begins to retreat as a warm front, but it doesn't move that much, and we have rain in the forecast for Friday and then even on into the weekend. Forecast for the remainder tonight, flash flood watch until 4 a.m. for the counties I showed you earlier with temperatures in the middle 60s. For tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms, about a 70% chance with highs in the upper 70s to low 80s. Valley forecast more the same. Clouds, rain, and thunderstorms with highs in the upper 70s. 3-day outlook now for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The rain chance remains in the forecast at least through Sunday, and of course we can't really see much further out than that, but at least through Sunday we do have a good chance of rain. Pattern looks like it's just going to be with us for a while.
And as long as it's with us, we will continue to monitor it.
Yes.
Thank you, Cole. Straight ahead, Mary Baldwin College.
Soaring. Welcome to First at 5. I'm Gene Upley.
I'm Sabrina Squire. Here's what's happening at 5 o'clock. The death toll from raging floods across Virginia has risen to 6 this evening. 3 more victims were found today in a pickup truck that plunged into a creek because of a washed-out road in Franklin County. Crews have been busy all across the Old Dominion, some even risking their own lives trying to save others. This amazing video was shot in Rockbridge County. Crews using all the manpower and horsepower their trucks could muster haul this man to safety from water rushing around him.
Well, help himself. Scared stiff, I reckon.
Rescue crews in Rockbridge are being praised by community leaders tonight for their quick response that saved that man's life.
But for family members of those still missing, imagine the waiting. The uncertainty is unbearable. It has been 2 days since anyone seen 3-year-old Alexa Orantes. The child was camping with her grandparents Tuesday when she disappeared. Her grandfather was assisting his handicapped wife when Alexa apparently got too close to the swollen Greene Creek. Although the search has been temporarily called off because of bad weather, Alexa's mother says she's not giving up.
I don't know any more than y'all do where she's at or anything, and when she'll be found or anything. So all I can do is wait with all of you and pray with all of you.
Orantes says her parents are sick with grief, but they should not feel responsible for Alexa's disappearance. The search will resume after the river crests sometime early tomorrow.
Some of the worst flooding has been in Madison County, just northeast of Charlottesville.
A number of residents there were rescued from the floodwaters today, and Gabrielle Girl joins us now live from there with details. Gabrielle.
Well, Gene and Sabrina, they have rescued 18 people from this search and rescue staging operation just today here at Madison High School. Now, what folks here could obviously use the most is some sunny weather. We've got a little bit of it poking through the clouds right now, but it's not supposed to last. Now, in lieu of that great weather, they have dozens of diligent rescue people and the Red Cross here on hand. Helicopters from the state police and the Army plucked the stranded from front porches, roofs, and treetops and brought them shivering to safety here at the Red Cross shelter at Madison High. Ariana and Ariel Davis were cold and hungry, but happy to be here. The water came up fast at their house this morning.
Spell your name.
The Red Cross has provided a roof, dry clothes, and supplies to nearly 200 people here in Madison County since Tuesday. Now, the rivers are pretty much back in their banks, and they're not flooding people out anymore right now, but the electricity is out, and the phones are out, and many, many roadways are out, so a lot of people are still going to need care here, and the Red Cross wants folks to know that they'll be here. They're open to come to Madison High if they need anything. Jean and Sabrina?
That's great. Gabrielle, any word on the 80-year-old woman that's been missing there?
No, she was washed out of her house when the Robinson River flooded and crested on Tuesday. And, of course, the search effort has continued for her extensively today, but there is no new information on that search yet, Sabrina.
So the searching continues. Thank you. Gabrielle Gurl reporting from Madison County.
Dozens of secondary roads and a couple of major highways remain closed across parts of north central Virginia this evening as a result of all the flood damage. And repair crews are being hampered by continuing rainfall. U.S. Route 29 north of Charlottesville is a major traffic artery, and that road is still shut down at the Greene-Madison County line. Floodwaters from the Rapidan River washed out a 300-foot section of pavement leading up to the bridge, and workers struggled in a downpour this afternoon to stabilize the roadbed with tons of stone. Contractors have been at that site round the clock since Wednesday morning. They hope to have Route 29 open to motorists again sometime tomorrow afternoon. That is, if the weather gives them a break.
Now, by comparison, there's been very little rain right here in Richmond, but the James River is already above flood stage. Officials say it could be late tomorrow, however, before the river crests at Westham.
Campbell Brown joins us live from Sky 12. Campbell, what does it look like from up there?
Well, it is quite a different sight than we are used to seeing, Jean, Sabrina. The James River is wider and stronger than it's been in a while. Let's take a look. The waters from up north in the counties have been pouring into the James. Fortunately, we have not had many of the flooding problems, not yet at least, that they've experienced up there. From what you can see up here, in terms of flooding, it doesn't look like anybody is going to be playing the 8th hole at Willow Oaks anytime soon. But other than that, no houses we've seen at this point are experiencing flooding. We will be flying up north and bring you some information from there later on at 5:30 and 6. The river, as you all said, Jean, is expected to crest Saturday afternoon, so things will get worse. They are checking the river levels just about every hour, and we'll have more for you at 5:30. Jean,
It looks so much different from high in the sky.
What a different viewpoint.
Thank you, Campbell Brown.
With the waters in the James on the rise, city officials want to make sure there are no problems in Richmond.
Richmond reporter Charles Murphy now joins us live to tell us what precautions city officials are taking. Chuck?
Well, Gene, city officials got some good news late this afternoon. Now, Campbell just mentioned that the river was expected to crest in the Richmond area Saturday afternoon. Well, we have some updated information now. The crest now is expected in the downtown Richmond area late Friday night. And while the city was expecting a crest of between 17 and 19 feet Saturday afternoon, the best estimate now is a crest of between 14 and 15 feet late Friday night, and that means the brand new Richmond flood wall probably won't get much of a test this time. The Mayo Bridge, it would take 26 feet of water to close the Mayo Bridge and cause the city to shut those gates. So the Mayo Bridge will remain open, maybe, and that's just maybe. The flood wall people will have to close a couple of the doors and gates in the lowest areas of Shockoe Bottom and South Side, but nothing that would cause any traffic problems. City officials, however, out of an abundance of caution this afternoon, did decide to close Belle Isle. Sorry, river lovers. Belle Isle is a great place to visit, but you'll have to wait. At sundown tonight, Belle Isle and the James will be closed. They want to make sure that no one falls in the river very quickly. The river level is such right now that you need a permit if you want to do any kayaking or canoeing, and you have to be an expert and get a permit from the fire department. So keep that in mind if you're thinking of venturing out on this rolling brown water.
It is high and the water is rushing. Thanks very much, Chuck Murphy.
Of course, Jim Duncan will have the forecast in just a moment. Let's move on to other stories. Chesterfield police suspect
United Kingdom, American Airlines, something special to Europe.
In Madison County, the cleanup continues. More on the story of the floods of '95. Straight ahead on Dateline 29 News.
Hey, guess what? The sun actually came out today, first time all week. Don't get too used to it, though. We still have showers and thunderstorms in the forecast through Saturday.
Who live near Sugar Hollow Dam breathe a sigh of relief. The Shenandoah Valley residents are keeping their fingers crossed that the rain will stay away. And the Supreme Court makes its decision in the case of Wide Awake magazine.
RTV, Channel 29.
From Channel 29, Virginia's most powerful television station, this is Dateline 29 News at 6.
You're looking at the Route 29 bridge over the Rapidan River in Madison County, where work has been going on 24 hours a day to restore the northbound spans to service in time for this weekend, and officials are hopeful that they're going to be able to do just that. Hello, I'm Dave Cupp, reporting live from Madison County, where the damages are still being totaled from the floodwaters that roared through here earlier this week. The worst of the damage is in Graves Mill, Syria, Kriglersville, Ruth, Middle River, Kinderhook, Garth River, and nobody knows quite how bad it is yet. No count yet on how many houses, how many bridges have been wiped out, and it's difficult for ground crews to even get in. Most of what people know, they know from flying over and looking through helicopters, because while this bridge is in pretty good shape right now, other bridges aren't in good shape. Let's visit another bridge that was wiped out by the Rapidan. Okay, to give you an idea of the kind of water that swept through here, we're going to take a panoramic look. This is the Rapidan River right here. Over here is the little sign that identifies the end of this bridge, which was built in 1940, and the river simply went around it. There you see the edge of the bridge, the water below, the roadway on the far side where the people have been wading through the water. Now we're turning upstream. You see the fields covered with debris, the downed lines and so forth where the water came tearing through. And here is the debris that had piled up on the bridge itself, including this tree which was stripped of its bark and all of this. And on the far side of the bridge, of course, you see the equipment working where the river ripped through on that side of the bridge as well. As you can see, it is a devastating mess out there. Our reporter Ken Slack has been talking to some of the people trying to clean up.
Yes, there are actually hundreds of road crew workers from the Virginia Department of Transportation. Dozens of contractors are helping them from around the state. They've all gathered here to get roads like US 29, 231, 230, and literally 200 roads total. And the several counties that were hit by the flood, all of them have been either closed or even totally wiped out by the floodwaters. And though there are hundreds of highway workers attempting to get the job done and get motorists back on their way, they definitely have their work cut out for them.
They done washed both sides of the road out and all the debris underneath the bridge. It's just a mess. And that little shower of rain we had about an hour ago, now the water's rising on us again. We're trying to get the road open just the best way we can to get them people out of the hollow up there, because they ain't got no water. Most of them ain't got no food.
Now the scene you see right now is Route 230 as it crosses over the Rapidan River here in Madison County. Workers are first laying truckloads after truckloads of rock, and then they go back over them with bulldozers, attempting to lay out a path to get over the river. Now the bridge here was relatively intact. The river just decided not to go underneath the bridge, and in fact it just wiped out the road that leads up to the bridge. In the meantime, while the work is going on, workers and volunteers are taking supplies to the stranded victims, and right now the only way across the river for those victims is by foot. So 29 will be open very soon, as you can see, but it will be weeks for some of the roads, even months for some of the secondary roads, and it's going to be a long healing process for Madison County.
Yes, it will. Okay, thank you, Ken. Now, you saw some people wading across the river there. Others chose to come out by helicopter. A lot of people who had decided to stay home yesterday were choosing to come out today. The shelter at the Madison County High School has had some 100 families go through, and about half of those have gone on now to stay with other relatives. We just got word that some 85 families are likely to be without power for a couple of weeks in the Kinderhook Middle River area. Our Kim Vaughn has been talking to some of the people who were hurt by this flood. Kim?
That's right, Dave. Coast Guard, National Guard, and state police continue to rescue people stuck in the rural areas of Madison County. And earlier today, photojournalist Bill Edwards and I caught up with one couple whose rescue can best be described as amazing.
There is just a wall of water and trees snapping coming right toward us.
That was the scene just seconds before Connie Crossgrove of Wolftown saw her home devastated and nearly swept away by the furious waters of Tuesday's flooding. Connie and her husband Jim were able to leave their home and set out on foot to a nearby house where they prayed they'd be rescued.
And Jim said, "We got to move now." And I had an injured cat in my arm, and what we had on our backs, one bag of clothing. And we crossed these two big gorges. It was horrible, but we're here now.
That was 2 days ago, and today the Crossgroves were saved and brought here to the Rescue Operation Command Post at Madison County High School.
Well, you know, I prayed. We both prayed. And we're here right now. We're here right now.
As of early this afternoon, close to 20 people had been brought to safety, but still missing is Doris Frisbee of Graves Mill. Her home was swept away Tuesday, and she hasn't been seen since. Meanwhile, Red Cross and Salvation Army volunteers continue to care for flood victims at this temporary shelter.
Everybody pulling together here proves, this is a good area to live.
And basically, that's the sentiment of the people and volunteers in Madison County. And we've got some good news to report this evening. About 28 people are still stranded out, and they should be arriving to rescue areas later tonight.
Yeah, the water was going back up today, and some rescue crews were even getting stranded by high water. So things have been a real mess. Thank you very much, Kim. Of course, the best news, the people around here could have a good weather forecast. We'll check in with Robert Van Winkle when Dateline 29 News continues to find out if they'll get that wish. And first, let's take a look at the James River at Bremo Bluff, where floodwaters are moving through.
It's the Dodge 4th of July celebration going on.
Some pretty dramatic pictures there of the rescue. Dave and Ken and Kim having a pretty crazy day out there.
Unbelievable. And this is day 3, I guess we could say, after the big flood, and we're just still seeing more stuff that's incredible. Let's take a look now at some of the river updates on the James. Now, we turn our attention to the James because in Scottsville and at Bremo Bluff, the James has begun to well, rise again, if you will. It looked like it was going to go down a little bit today. It's back on the rise, and it will crest tomorrow in Scottsville at 22 to 24 feet. In Scottsville, that is above flood stage. In Bremo Bluff, the James is going to crest tomorrow at around 28 feet, and again, that is well above flood stage as well. The Rapidan has already crested, but any additional shower activity will cause it to rise and fall, as we saw up on the Rapidan earlier today. Again, those pictures are of the James River today. Right now in Charlottesville, the temperature is 77 degrees, and there's something on the screen that you have not seen for a while, at least since Monday. The sun actually popped out, and I think it did something to most of us, because just to see the sun was at least an uplift in some way. Northeast winds at 5, 70% humidity. We had a ½ inch of rain in Charlottesville today, 78 for the high temperature today. Valley weather currently is 78 degrees, partly cloudy skies, some sun for you folks as well, on and off this afternoon. Southeast winds, the barometer's on the rise, and it was 79 near the airport this afternoon. Let's summarize our weather today with a look at the radar picture from earlier this afternoon. I'll put it in motion now, and you can see how we've developed today. This is from about 1 o'clock this afternoon. As the rains continued across central Virginia, they finally broke up a little bit, and we got that little bout of sunshine. But look at the current situation now. You can see that the rain is continuing to threaten some areas of Augusta and Albemarle County, also into Nelson. Here's the shower activity right through there. It's a pretty good shower right there around Afton Mountain, and it's going to head up the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it will also continue to dump water along the Blue Ridge and into the reservoirs and lakes on in western Albemarle. Heavy showers now out in Orange County, way past Unionville, and some showers now in Buckingham and Louisa. Our ground remains incredibly saturated. Any kind of additional moisture is just going to continue to run off, so be very alert the rest of this evening. There will be more showers scattered about. But you saw from that radar picture, there's not a real concentrated area of rain moving in tonight. So keep your fingers crossed. We might have a quiet evening with just a few showers. Almost 2 inches of rain today in Crozet. The shower that we were talking about earlier through Greene and Madison dumped about an inch and a half of rain for the folks in Greene and Madison this afternoon, around ½ an inch to an inch in Augusta today. Lighter amounts toward Richmond. Here we are with the flood watch again tonight. Most of the counties east of the Blue Ridge Mountains, again, for the third night in a row, will be under a flood watch. You folks in the valley are also under a flood watch until 11 p.m. We have a situation similar to last night and the night before. There's a frontal boundary through the area. That front continues to press its way into Virginia, and it will continue to stir up the showers and the thunderstorms. This high is holding that front pretty much in place. Eventually, a cold front out west is going to come in, and that will finally push this out. What that spells for the next 2 days, Friday and Saturday, a continued feed of moisture, a continued chance of showers and thunderstorms through Saturday. But Sunday and Monday, we're going to get some relief. Hang in there. The weekend, end of the weekend, we will get some drier air in here. Forecast for tonight, still a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Flood watch posted, as I showed you, for some of the counties surrounding Albemarle. Temperatures will be around 70 degrees. For tomorrow, variable clouds. The sun may peek out now and then, but there will be some more showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. Some of them could be heavy tomorrow afternoon. Highs tomorrow around 80. Valley weather around 80 to upper 70s. Muggy. Possibly some strong thunderstorms tomorrow as well. 3-day forecast. One more lousy day on Saturday. The icon there shows just cloudy skies with that lightning bolt in there. We may see a little bit of sunshine in the afternoon on Saturday, but for the most part, I think our relief is going to come on Sunday and Monday in full force when we get that cold front in the Midwest through here.
So if we can get through a couple more days, we'll be okay.
Hang in there for at least 2 more days, okay?
All right, thanks a lot,
Thank
Robert.
you,
Straight ahead, the Sugar Hollow Dam holds, and the Supreme Court gives the green light to Wide Awake. We'll have reaction to that decision next.
Sweet summer produce is not as far away as you think. In fact, it's cropping up on farms all over the area. And Giant Food has an eye on what will be this summer's finest locally grown fruits and vegetables. So as they reach for the sky, you can rest assured that summer's best local produce has our name written all over it.
Sugar Hollow Reservoir in western Albemarle County, you can breathe a little easier tonight. Police say the dam at the reservoir can probably stand the pressure of all the rainwater. That follows last night's alarm that the dam could give way. Tim Murtaugh reports.
The rain continued in the morning while police waited for word on the dam's water level. To monitor the dam, which had come a good hard rain away from real danger, 2 men walked for 2 hours, covering only 1.5 miles.
But it's about a 2-hour hike because of all the flooding. We have to follow the power lines, and it's steep hills, very slick.
The 2 men left here from the command center in Whitehall at 6:30 Wednesday evening, not returning until 8:45 Thursday morning. And when they got back, they had good news. By mid-morning, the reservoir was 4 feet below overflow with the floodgates wide open, meaning only another torrential rain would make trouble.
There would be a risk there in that the debris that's come down could start plugging up in the opening. So there would be some risk there. It would take a lot of rain to really pose a significant threat.
At Wyant's, across the street from the police command center, most weren't worried, though some wonder if the opening of the floodgates contributed to the damage to roads around the dam. In Albemarle County, Tim Murtaugh, Dateline 29 News.
Now, police say they have contacted, evacuated, or accounted for all the residents of the Sugar Hollow area. Routes 810 and 614 remain closed. And Virginia Power says the 75 customers in the area could be without electricity until next week. Severe rainfall has forced major evacuations and created many problems for residents of Buena Vista in Rockbridge County. Many roads, like Route 501, which is south of the town, have suffered mudslides. Rivers of water have taken away roadways. This situation has left many residents stranded and at the mercy of the speed of...
We saw similar damage to this in 1985 and a little bit in 1992, but major damage, this is very similar to Camille, what I've seen.
Never in my lifetime, and I've been through the 69 flood, the 85, and now this. And of course, having formerly lived in Buena Vista, Virginia, I now live in Lexington. I believe that the county is in worse shape than I've ever seen it in my lifetime.
A bit of good news, the Shenandoah Valley saw a little sunshine today. Residents of Stanton are working on cleanup efforts in Gypsy Hill Park for the 4th of July celebration this weekend. They're also trying to get the stage built for the holiday concerts.
Got a busy weekend planned. Hope the rain stays off. If everything works out all right, we'll be ready for July 4th.
In Waynesboro, the South River seems just one strong rainstorm away from disaster, but so far the city has escaped major damage. Augusta County is still dealing with flooding threats and road damage, and its residents, like many in Central Virginia, are coping with changes in their travel plans. Well, highway crews and private contractors are trying to keep those changes to a minimum. They're pouring into Central Virginia, working to get roads and bridges repaired. But with about 200 roads still closed due to the flooding, they definitely have their work cut out for them.
They done washed both sides of the road out and all the debris underneath the bridge. It's just a mess. And that little shower of rain we had about an hour ago, now the water's rising on us again. We're trying to get the road open just the best way we can to get them people out of the hollow up there, because they ain't got no water. Most of them ain't got no food.
Now, Route 230 crosses the Rapidan River in Madison County. The roadway there is one of dozens that is undergoing repairs. Highway crews are hauling in truckloads of rocks and gravel and using them to fill the washed out sections. Some of the roads, including Route 29, are expected to reopen over the next couple of days. Others, however, will take weeks, even months to repair. In the meantime, volunteers are carrying food, clothing, and other essentials to residents trapped on the other side. But until work on Route 230 is completed, the only way across the river is by foot. Slowly but surely, some things are returning to normal to many residents who were affected by the flooding. In the town of Gordonsville, the water boiling advisory has been lifted, although customers are still being asked to conserve water. About 80 Rappahannock Electric Cooperative customers in Madison County are still without power tonight. Most of those people are located in the Graves Mill area, and crews say efforts to restore power are being hampered by the rainfall, rising waters, and closed roads. Now, here's a look at how you can help out in the relief effort. Area Burger King restaurants are joining the effort by collecting bottled water and canned goods on behalf of the victims in Greene and Madison counties.
We're doing quite well so far. The work's just gotten out today, but we are doing quite well, and we are certainly anticipating a good response, and we will be transporting that to the areas in need.
Statewide flood relief efforts are being coordinated from the National Red Cross Operations Center. It's located in Charlottesville. Here are the numbers you should call if you'd like to make a donation, and you should specify on your check that it should go to help Virginia flood victims. Now, the local Red Cross office asks that food and clothing donations be taken to the Salvation Army or the Emergency Food Bank.
The road situation in Central Virginia improved overnight, but it's still difficult to get around in many parts of Madison and Greene. Mary Moore is in the newsroom with the latest. Mary.
Beth, over 20 roads remain closed in Madison County. However, we have just confirmed that Route 230 from Standardsville to Hood is now open. Construction crews are making progress repairing some washed-out bridges there and in Greene County. Of course, Route 29 at the Greene-Madison line is still closed, and in Albemarle the situation is much improved, though roads around the Whitehall area, including 810, are still closed. Beth?
Thank you, Mary. Highway crews and private contractors are pouring into Central Virginia, working to get roads and bridges repaired. But with about 200 roads closed due to the flooding, they definitely have their work cut out for them.
They done washed both sides of the road out and all the debris underneath the bridge. It's just a mess. And that little shower of rain we had about an hour ago, now the water's rising on us again. We're trying to get the road open just the best way we can to get them people out of the hollow up there, because they ain't got no water. Most of them ain't got no food.
Route 230 crosses the Rapidan River in Madison County, and the roadway there is one of the dozens that is undergoing repairs. Highway crews are hauling in truckloads of rock and gravel and using them to fill in the washed out sections. Norm Sprouse is up next with a last look at weather this morning. The Virginia Department of Emergency Services takes stock of the flood damage and plans for the future. Hello, everyone. I'm Beth Pugh, sitting in for Mary Spencer. We go now to Dave Cupp. He is in Madison County at the rescue squad, where state emergency workers have gathered to plan their next steps. Dave.
Hi, Beth. This is the rescue squad building where all the agencies involved in the flood rescues have been coordinating their efforts. The rescue efforts are slowing down now, and the enormity of this flood is starting to sink in. Madison Supervisors Chairman David Jones said this morning the joke making the rounds is somebody ought to write a book called The Former Bridges of Madison County.
You know, our problems in this area are just beginning. I think that's, you know, we
we had real problems with people and emergencies, but the real problems for this county have just scratched the surface. You've got agricultural fields that used to be prime growing soils and now rocks and trees. You got houses missing. You got roads missing. You know, our difficulty is, like I said, I don't even want to think about the paperwork that's coming.
Looking at some pictures that were taken from a Coast Guard helicopter yesterday over Madison County. The Coast Guard essentially was flying around and people would signal them if they needed help by waving flashlights, their arms, raincoats. In some cases, people were so cut off by mudslides that the helicopter had to use a rope and hoist down someone to talk to them, and in some cases hoist people back out to rescue them. Don Askew of VDOT says he first knew how serious this situation was going to be when somebody called and told him there were 12 feet of water washing over the Route 29 bridge at the Rapidan River. Ultimately, 9 counties suffered flood damage that he said runs from Sugar Hollow in Albemarle County to Bean Hollow in Rappahannock. They are desperately trying to get roads reopened right now. The good news for holiday travelers, they expect to reopen part of Route 29 this afternoon. Route 522 and 231 should be reopened today. Route 15 at Robinson may take a week to get open. It's going to take months for them to first put in temporary road surfaces in some roads and then try to put something back. They said they're hoping to get those roads replaced by winter, but future floods are a real problem here because in many places all the vegetation, all the soil has been stripped away to the bedrock, and whatever rain comes down is going to come down the mountainsides in torrents once again. Coming up, the governor and Senator John Warner are here, expected here this afternoon. Our videographer Bill Edwards will be going up in a state police helicopter in about a half hour. We'll have more on the situation here at 6. Beth.
Okay, Dave, thank you for that live report. Now, Madison County is still working hard to rescue people. Connie Cosgrove of Wolftown and her husband Jim are just one of the families grateful to the rescue efforts. She saw her home devastated and nearly swept away by the furious waters of Tuesday's flooding. They set out on foot to a nearby house to wait for rescue help.
And Jim said, "We got to move now." And I had an injured cat in my arm. And what we had on our backs, 1 bag of clothing. And we crossed these 2 big gorges. It was horrible, but we're here now.
That was 3 days ago, and yesterday they were brought to the Madison County High School temporary shelter. Red Cross and Salvation Army volunteers continue to care for flood victims. Many roads throughout Central Virginia and the Shenandoah Valley are still closed. Others are being reopened. Mary Moore has an updated list as well as many power outages. She's in the newsroom with more. Mary.
Beth, a major artery in Greene County was reopened to traffic this morning. Route 230 from Standardsville to Hood is now open. There are still 10 roads closed in Greene. There had been 18 closed. In Madison County, there are 17 roads still closed. Work continues on the Route 29 bridge at the Madison-Greene County line, and as you just heard Dave say, it could be open later today. In Albemarle County, 11 roads in the western part of the county are closed. That's down from a high of 26. In Augusta County, 4 roads are closed. Electricity is still out in the Wolftown and Graves Mill areas of Madison and in the Sugar Hollow area of Albemarle. Beth.
Thanks, Mary. Other areas of the state took a pounding in the storm as well. In Rockbridge County, hundreds of residents had to be evacuated when flooding covered roads and caused mudslides. Rivers of water have taken away roadways. This situation has left many residents stranded and at the mercy of the speed of repair crews.
We saw similar...
Footnote, the town of Gordonsville has lifted its mandatory water conservation. That's the town of
That's
Gordonsville.
Good.
Yes.
And speaking of water, 50-50 chance of more of it today, tonight, and tomorrow. But the rest of the weekend looks good. Details in a few moments. Comes in off the Atlantic Ocean, right? Starts heading inland in Virginia, then right on up into the mountains. And of course, you know, the mountains around here, 2,000-3,000 feet, something like that. And of course, that provides plenty of lifting, pushes all that moisture up into the cooler atmosphere, and hence all those rains hit the ground and just keep coming and coming and coming. That's been the story for the most part this week. Now,
Hello,
everyone, I'm Mary White. Thanks for joining us this evening. After 3 days of flooding and the beginning of some cleanup efforts, some semblance of normalcy is expected back to the area later this hour. Route 29 should be reopened in both directions over the Rapidan River tonight. Construction crews on both sides of the bridge were putting the finishing touches on the northbound lanes of 29 late tonight. Workers began laying down the last layer of asphalt at about 9:15, repairing some of the damage caused by massive flooding this week. When 29 opens, there will be one lane in each direction on the northbound side. Now, the speed limit over the bridge will be 35 miles an hour instead of the usual 55. Traffic should be restored to normal, 2 lanes in each direction in a few weeks. Since the flooding began earlier this week, dozens of people have been working around the clock to rescue and bring aid to the flood victims. This morning, some of those workers spoke about what they have seen throughout the course of the week. One said he did not realize the severity of the problem until he saw that Route 29 bridge at the Rapidan River.
Reports I had was that there was 12 foot of water over top of it. I had to call back the person that made that statement and said, "Are you sure it's 12 foot of water over top that bridge?" And he said, "Yes, the logs are just bouncing across it." I knew then that we had a serious problem, probably of the magnitude of Nelson County, which I had spent some time on in 1969 during Hurricane Camille.
They use flashlights to shine up at us, or to get out there with rain slickers and wave at us, or just stand out and wave both their arms above their head, and we would come down and either land if that was possible, or we would hoist our rescue swimmer down and he would go and ask them questions.
Assistance may be on the way to the flooded areas. This afternoon, Governor Allen announced that he will request a major disaster declaration for the state of Virginia. Linda Winnie has that story.
Governor Allen says the focus has switched since earlier in the week when rescuing people was the first priority. Now the state's focus is to restructure and rebuild Virginia's flood-ravaged areas. Allen, Senators John Warner and Chuck Robb, and Federal Emergency Management Agency Director James Lee Witt got a bird's-eye view of the devastation below.
Nature has inflicted a very cruel blow on our beautiful state and on our people. And we're happy to come down and do what we can to help out.
In Madison County alone, preliminary damage estimates are in the area of $65 million. Governor Allen has no choice but to ask President Clinton to declare Virginia a major disaster area.
This declaration will provide, hopefully, when it's granted, assistance to many of these areas, and more importantly to the people and the businesses that have been hurt with it.
We will do our best, Senator Warner and I and the House delegation, to make sure that anything that we can do to assist this effort at the federal level is done as expeditiously as possible.
Everything is in order, everything is in place, and all we're waiting on is our damage assessment teams to get the information to the governor so the governor can make an expedite, and then we will be working with his office and process it that way.
FEMA will have to recommend to the White House what appropriate action should be taken to help Virginia. Then it will be up to President Clinton to decide if Virginia qualifies for federal assistance. In Madison County, Linda Winnie, Dateline 29 News.
Greene County saw its share of destruction as well. In the Middle River area of Greene, several miles of roads and bridges no longer exist. Lila Young hiked up the Middle River and filed this report.
An American flag marks one devastated homestead in the still raging Middle River. Automobiles submerged, a lawnmower half buried in the mud. This bulldozer and the pickup truck behind it appear to have been overtaken by the river as they raced to safety. And there's still a lot of water running down the mountain, here carving out a 15-foot waterfall over what used to be the road. Further down, the water is receding, leaving displaced fish lying in the puddles. While earth movers work around the clock to rebuild some semblance of a road, refugees who had been evacuated are now going back to check out the damage. Some hiked for miles through the muck and mud to retrieve valuables and pets.
My place is 2 miles above here, and everything I got is just covered over, rock and mud.
We live further back up on the mountain, and the rock slides and all the water missed the house by maybe 50 feet.
Charles Jarrell lives next to the Kinderhook General Store, right at the place where the Middle River leapt from its banks and flooded the entire valley.
This is my room. I jumped up from here and run and got out. I got out just in time. All at once it happened. It just happened so fast that nobody could get out, except the people who was close enough to run.
A week ago, this was someone's home high up in the hills, but it washed down the mountain and ended up behind Mr. Jarrell's house. A total loss. You can just see where the bathroom was. Despite all the destruction, the people here say they will go back up into the mountainsides and rebuild their homes and their lives. In Greene County, Lila Young, Dateline 29 News.
Now, the American Red Cross, the bodies of 2 people missing since Tuesday were pulled from the state's rain-swollen rivers today, bringing the death toll to 8 in one of the worst flooding disasters the Commonwealth has seen in decades. Hello, everyone. I'm Mary White. Thanks for joining us this evening. A state police helicopter spotted the body of 3-year-old Alexa Orantes of Manassas in the Shenandoah River around 11:30 this morning, nearly 10 miles from the Warren County Mobile Home Park where she was last seen alive. She was swept away in this flash flooding on Tuesday. Also today, search dogs found the body of 64-year-old Doris Frisbee, whose Madison County house was demolished by a mudslide with her in it. This afternoon, President Clinton declared Madison, Greene, and Rockbridge counties and the cities of Buena Vista and Lexington federal disaster areas, so residents there can begin applying for federal assistance. Other counties are expected to be added once damage surveys and assessments are completed. Meanwhile, in Madison County, volunteers are still working day and night to clean up from the devastating floods. The high school in Madison County is the command post for the Red Cross's emergency operations. It's also the home for many flood victims. The American Red Cross estimates that more than 1,400 families need relief because of this disaster. Kim Vaughn reports.
Corrections officers loading pet food for cats and dogs in need of supplies following this week's furious floods.
Don't mind at all. Don't mind at all. Might need a favor one day.
Aerial rescue operations have ceased, and the Red Cross has shifted its focus from recovery to relief.
We're also going to hopefully set up a service center here where people can come for what we would call one-stop shopping, where they can visit the Red Cross for their clothing, food, shelter needs. They can talk to the social services for welfare needs, whatever needs. They can come to one area instead of having to drive all over.
Red Cross officials say they've come to the aid of at least 2,000 flood victims so far, and this center will remain open 24 hours a day as cleanup continues after Central Virginia's worst floods in recent memory.
Flood victims stream in need of emergency supplies. Wanda Bright of Banco in Madison County picked up a Jeep load.
We picked up clothes because the water's coming in the house and it's got everything molded, and it's just a real big mess, and just a little bit of rain and everything starts flooding out again.
The Red Cross will be here for the long haul, and if you want to aid in relief efforts, they say what's needed most is money, blankets, cleaning supplies, batteries, and flashlights. In Madison County, Kim Vaughn, Dateline 29 News.
Now, the flooding has caused a lot of damage in the Shenandoah National Park. A park spokeswoman says the Big Meadows Lodge is closed, and many trails in the central district of the park are closed as well. All of those trails are marked with signs that read either hazardous or unknown. On the park's eastern boundary between routes 211 and 33, all of the trailheads are closed. Other areas of the park are not affected, and park officials are still encouraging people to visit this weekend. And before you do that, you might want to get the latest information from the Virginia Highway Department's helpline. The number you see on your screen, 1-800-367-7623. In other news, as the Unabomber continues...
$1 million and rising in the floodwaters that swept through Virginia last week. 8 people lost their lives. Tomorrow, state and federal disaster application centers will open near Lexington and in Madison to allow businesses and residents to apply for grants and loans. We'll have the latest flood pictures. These are the latest pictures taken over Madison County today of the massive damage caused by floodwaters that swept through parts of central Virginia last week. Today the sun was shining, a welcome sight for people sorting through their waterlogged belongings. And with the cloud cover gone, the helicopters were able to fly higher, and the full breadth of the water that swept through this area could be appreciated more completely. The scope of the flooding was becoming apparent in other ways as well. The State Department of Emergency Services estimates damages at $112 million and counting. 8 people dead, scores of farm animals killed, but there are no additional reports of missing persons from the floods, and officials say most of the 800 people temporarily displaced from their homes have now been able to return. Hello, I'm Dave Cupp. Some of those people who returned have a massive task in front of them. Tim Murtaugh talked to some of the residents in Ruth, one of the hard-hit areas in Madison County.
Believe it or not, this used to be a horse paddock covered with grass, holding 8 horses. An elderly couple rented this house, which saw the water reach the 12th of 13 steps leading up to the 2nd floor. 3 feet of mud now covers the kitchen floor. The house will likely be useful now only as scrap. Their belongings are scattered in the mud as the sorting begins. Sightseers stop by Ruth frequently to check out the evidence of the water's power, recording what they see. Even rescue workers who were on duty here have come back to take a look at nature's finished product.
We came down Tuesday night looking for a couple of young guys that were down here who had started out in the town of Madison, and they walked down here and were helping clean out this barn. And Tuesday night the water was up to the second windows on that house.
This is White Oak Run, and people who were watching when the water came through here Tuesday say the water reached a point about 20 feet above where my head is now. I know that's very difficult to imagine, but a woman who was sitting on her front porch and watching says the water came sweeping through here and only took a couple of minutes to make quick work of a bridge that used to span White Oak Run.
It must have taken all of 10 or 15 minutes before he had overgone the road and was to the top of the barn over there. At that point in time, once the water came through, it brought the trees down. We saw cars coming down, saw Jim's barn come down, or I guess his garage.
The man she refers to, Jim Shotwell, took Sunday morning off from the cleanup, but says he's thankful no one was injured here, even as the death toll around the state continues to rise. In Madison County, Tim Murtaugh, Dateline 29 News.
State and federal disaster application centers will open tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock at the Rockbridge Consolidated High School near Lexington and at Madison County High School. Those centers will be open every day next week through Saturday to allow residents and businesses in the official disaster area to apply for grants and loans. Now, that disaster area includes Madison, Greene, and Rockbridge counties and the cities of Buena Vista and Lexington. Citizens with flood damage may also apply for assistance by phone. For answers to various disaster-related questions, call the Flood Information Helpline. The number is on your screen, 1-800-525-0321. Holiday traffic was moving smoothly today over the Route 29 bridge over the Rapidan River, which was engulfed by those floodwaters you saw a moment ago just last Tuesday. The northbound lane of the bridge was returned to service Friday night. Police say one of the continuing problems at that bridge and at other sites damaged by floodwaters is sightseers. Authorities note that flooded areas may still...
This week's flood, victims are now asking for help to begin rebuilding. State and federal disaster officials are now trying to get aid money to the owners of flood-damaged homes and businesses as quickly as possible. Over the weekend, President Clinton declared Greene, Madison, and Rockbridge counties and the cities of Lexington and Buena Vista federal disaster areas. Today, the president added the following 7 localities to the designation. They are Albemarle, Augusta, Campbell, Culpeper, and Giles counties, and the cities of Lynchburg and Stanton. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has opened disaster application centers in Rockbridge County and Madison County. Beth Pugh visited the one in Madison today.
This Red Cross Hummer vehicle can traverse most any terrain, and the Humvee is the vehicle of choice when sending out relief to Fletcher, a hamlet on Route 667 that straddles the Greene-Madison County line. The bottled water and toiletries are a welcome relief for the 50 people who have not been able to get out since last week. Like Valerie Campbell, this porch is all that remains of her 150-year-old house.
And the support has just been phenomenal. It's heartwarming.
J.R. Meadows knows tragedy. His newly built home caught fire in May. Last week's wall of water smothered 10 of his cars he was restoring.
Are you going to try to apply for disaster relief?
Oh, definitely, yeah. We couldn't begin to Like I said, everything I got's under 4 feet of mud.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Red Cross have set up centers at Madison County High School for flood victims to apply for relief. The Red Cross can help immediately with food, clothing, and rent vouchers. FEMA money will take more than a week to arrive.
Not only homes, but businesses. There's help for businesses. There's help for the self-employed people, which normally do not collect unemployment. They can during this process. There's a lot of help available. Only people have to come in and apply for it first.
Meanwhile, the residents of Fletcher keep digging out, hoping one day to say goodbye to the gravel trucks that are rebuilding their lifeline to civilization. In Madison County, Beth Pugh, Dateline 29 News.
Now, if you think you're eligible for disaster relief, call the Federal Emergency Management Agency at 1-800-462-9029, or you can apply in person at Madison High School between 8:30 and 6 o'clock daily. Now, before each commercial break tonight during our show, we will give you more ideas on how you can donate, and we'll show you some area groups that are offering relief to the flood victims. Virginia transportation officials say Route 29 between Culpeper and Charlottesville is
hard hit. Orange County suffered more than $1.6 million in agricultural damage, according to the Virginia Farm Bureau. Greene County lost about $250,000 during the floods, and nearly 300 farms were devastated in Madison.
Right now, our damage assessment just to agriculture is $24 million, and it's going into the $29 million as we start estimating costs of repairing fence.
That's the key. Yeah. I don't know, them old bridges are bad. The bridges are pretty tough, but that debris puts a lot of stress on them. It's 2:22. Decent daylight. It's 2:30. It's 2:37. This thing's still coming up. Pretty close to the peak. It's 2:03. Can't get no further pressure. Still there? That's the key. Yeah. I don't know, them old bridges are bad. The bridges are pretty tough, but that debris puts a lot of stress on them. It's 2:22. Decent daylight. It's 2:30. It's 2:37. This thing's still coming up. Pretty close to the peak. Maybe even going down a little bit. Keeps coming up and down on that post right there. It's like down about 6 inches maybe. Good possibility some of the road's gone. .358. .416, starting to recede pretty quick. It's 609. Not much we can do here.
Again, those are the words and pictures of state employee Ronnie Lawson. Well, some big league ball players are finding new homes. Todd's up next with the latest major league trades. Don't go away.